Let's now welcome SABC News special correspondent Sophie Mokoena, who joins us on the line to continue unpacking EFF leader Julius Malema's, of course, closing remarks earlier on today. A very good afternoon to you, Sophie. So Julius Malema's statement on the Israel-South Africa matter comes at a time where the expulsion of Israeli diplomat by South Africa has attracted quite a lot of international media. Is this not going to further fuel those tensions, you think? Good afternoon.
Well, Malema has been consistent in terms of the foreign policy of the EFF, but also the foreign policy of the country. So he has issued strong statements that led to even the United States of America putting him on the watch. That is why when the president was at the White House, his name came up, and that video, Malema was literally in the White House. And therefore, he is also responding to such pressures that South Africa is facing. It was expected that when the EFF is meeting, it is not only going to be about the local issues. They were supposed to also weigh in on international issues and continental matters. As a political party that has got a clear vision on Africa and the world as it relates to its posture. And therefore, whether that will fuel tension, for Malema, it's something that he has been very consistent on. That is why the EFF is the one that, or the party that pushed for the motion in Parliament, calling for the closure of the Israel embassy. And that was supported by progressive parties. And therefore, that is why it is a standing motion, and the president and his executive is expected to implement, and it hasn't been implemented. We've seen the EFF marching to the Israel embassy in Pretoria many times, and therefore that has been a constant call from the EFF. And of course, yes, the recall or the expulsion of the diplomat did attract international media, because the story of South Africa, Israel, and America has been one international story amongst lots of stories internationally, because there's a push for South Africa to take certain foreign policy decisions, and South Africa is refusing. Now, Malema is saying African leaders, when they are under pressure or something is happening to them, it is always expected that South Africa, with its standing posture of taking high moral ground and being principled, that they must always defend those countries on the continent. But the very same country that everyone called on when there are global issues to make its voice heard and take a principled position. No one is saying anything when that country is under attack, and that country is South Africa. So this is something that's being said every day, to say South Africa continue to stand for a principled position at global stage and also support the entire continent and African countries. But when South Africa needs that support, no one is supporting us. Including the AU. The AU was quick to defend Nigeria when America started attacking Nigeria. But they were quiet when South Africa was under attack. So I think he is talking to that.
Absolutely, Sophie. I mean, he's also been scathing on the United States. They're fingering Donald Trump specifically for the plot to arrest him and send him to jail. I mean, what do you make of these statements?
That you can't prove whether it was Trump who sent the message that he must be arrested, because this matter was before court. I think the coincidence that you decide to speed up the process at the time where there are these calls and where there's this a challenge of the relations between Donald Trump and South Africa, and Malema being in the White House, even though physically was not there, because that video, it was Malema in the White House, speaks to people who would have perception that certain decisions were taken based on the pressure behind the United States of America. And also the coincidence that it is AfriForum's case. And AfriForum has been going to the United States of America, raising concerns about certain issues, particularly the laws that are aimed to address the imbalances of the past. And therefore, people will make assumptions and they will make their own informed decisions based on what is happening, what they see, what they hear. Mm-hmm. And therefore, that's what Malema is saying on that issue of the U.S. having a hand in his difficult times as it relates to that court case. Mm-hmm. But you can't prove that in court.
Mm-hmm. Sophie, he also didn't leave out the current challenges in Africa. I mean, what do you make of his statements specifically on Uganda as well as other issues? Because on the issue of Uganda, he specifically mentioned Yoweri Museveni, the current president, of course, of threatening the opposition and silencing it. And he says these types of regimes, it's over.
I think that was a big story for me where he didn't mention the name, but he started by saying where he was defending the political activity, defending political parties or the existence of any political party. Mm-hmm. He indirectly was responding to the current news that in Burkina Faso, the president of Burkina Faso has decided to ban political parties. And he is indirectly saying, he said indirectly that political parties must be allowed to do what they are supposed to do and exist. It's up to the citizens of respective countries to decide who they want to decide, to support, but don't stifle political activities or suppress alternative voices. It wasn't about South Africa, according to my analysis, because he spoke about people are saying we don't respond to certain issues on the continent. And the current issue this weekend is that Ibrahim Traore has decided that political parties must not exist in that country or take political space. And therefore, many people were taken aback because the expectation is that Burkina Faso will still go to elections and they will return back to the democratic state. Whether it's led by him, Traore, it doesn't matter. Like it happened with Guinea. Guinea, there was a coup. The general indicated that in 7 years there will be elections. There was elections, and the new president was elected. He will be taking the rightful place of Guinea at the AU next week when AU leaders meet. And that's what you expect with Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and Guinea-Bissau, where you have coups leaders right now. So I think he was referring to that. But then, of course, he really pointed out at what is happening in Uganda and President Museveni, which is a view shared by some on the continent, that it's time for President Museveni to hand over power to younger people, but also people saying that he was able to stay in power for so long because of the tactics he used during elections. So it becomes problematic to really unpack what kind. We know that there was harassment of opposition, and therefore, unfortunately, now he's in office. But also to note, Malema saying Museveni must go doesn't mean Bobi Wine is the right person. In other words, it means if Museveni goes, leave it to Ugandans to decide who must be in office. Don't take sides.
All right, Sophie, thank you so much for that. That is SABC News Specialist Correspondent there, Sophie Mokoena, also further unpacking Malema's closing remarks of the second plenary.